Oh, you're bobbing your head to the intro.
Yep. And we're live.
Oh,
Hey,
hello
everybody.
there.
As you can see, it's a little light on the anarchists this week because, Tom, Julie, and Mehmet will not be joining us. But in a few, we hope to get Tabby.
No, Tab. I thought I made that clear. Tab has not joined us. She's
Tabby's not joining us. Okay. I
so we're all really light on anarchists around here. Damn it! I hate this.
It's two W1B.
It's the reverse Oreo show.
Oh yeah. That's right. Reverse Oreo show.
So it's like vanilla, and I'm just the chocolate in the middle.
Yes, you are the chocolate in the middle. Yes.
Okay.
It's more of a Malamar, I guess.
So I'm still busy tweeting out the show and the sharing to all the various links because I am on location in Kamaricon as I'm clearly not at my desk.
Yes, you are going full geek, full geek this week.
Well, okay. When have I not been full geek?
Well, I mean, you don't always be at a nerd convention.
Okay, but so that just means that I'm surrounded by other geeks, and I'm trying to mind where my head is for where that light is, but unfortunately right now this is one.
Because I'm guessing you're plugged into an outlet so that you'll be able to maintain power.
I can slide over to that outlet, see if that takes care of the light. So I'll do that. Nope, there's still a light there.
Didn't make any slight bit of difference.
It's again. Maybe I should just switch to just audio if it's get tiresome because this stain that I got for this it was really just not good. Okay, so so I'm now going to so sorry live chat, not seeing live chat because I'm going to now paste the copy and pasta the link to all the Discord servers I am because yes, I'm in a lot of them. So how's everyone else been?
Doing good.
Good.
So
I mean, not much is going on really. So
it is however, I did learn that there is a significant date, and I see you're still wearing a skirt there, John Breckman. That's hot as hell. At least according to Letourneau. So yes, Julie is feeling depressed, so she's not going to be here. Mehmet is definitely not feeling it either, so he's not going to be here. And Tom is really feeling out of it too, so Tom's not going to be here. Okay, the strat that I see right now of angel number 1312. I swear that color scheme it's the anime moon character in the moon, something like that. It's oh my god, I swear I will see that at an anime convention this weekend right now. All right, still busy pacing the links to all the Discord servers. Don't mind me. So Isaiah, what have you been up to other than trying to survive under capitalism?
Any progress moving down to Cape Canaveral?
Not yet, but I guess getting there. My channel is at 41 subscribers.
That's good. So remember Isaiah Taylor's link is down there below in the doobly-doo.
So, but yeah, surviving under capitalism, I guess.
It's just whenever you're at the job it's just terrible. I know that feeling. Now, granted, I don't have to clean up shit all day, but sometimes I did have to work 12-hour days this week as we're. Where's this stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, just keeping out from underfoot, as Beverly Crusher would say. I mean, not Beverly Crusher. Pulaski.
Oh yeah, Dr. Pulaski, who only got one season, and it was just I think the fans just hate her because it was just a bad first impression as to her.
Right. Some people call her space.
I think she did. I think there was kind of like a episode where it's like that it appeared that like she was picking on Data as were.
It's like I think according to Steve, they were trying to go for what's his nut Spock's vibe, McCoy and Spock.
Oh yeah, it just didn't work out that way too, or at least not initially.
Well, I mean, Data can't really fight back that way, so.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually, I think it's kind of like a program that he like can't as where. In fact, it became a plot point where it's like, no, it's against your like programming to be able to be violent towards a humanoid, something like that.
Well, I mean,
and so
not
when
violence. She wasn't like physically fighting Data, but
well, but I guess it's like he's so programmed to serve in some way, so it's just like he can't really like disagree too much either. So like you're right, there can't be like that kind of like a dynamics as it were. I'm getting so busy posting the data. So sorry, chat. I cannot see the chat right now because I'm going to only do one thing at a time on the phone.
Jewelry.
Yes, exactly. My beard probably is at that point as it were, but like I don't know if I spend money on like beard jewelry unless it's like actually pretty cheap.
Hello, Tasha.
I did notice though when it was like homecoming here in this town in Tallahassee, because we have two universities here. We have historical Black college at FAMU or Florida A&M, and then we have FSU. And the police would because I would sometimes like creep up to see what the rich kids always do, and they're always at the club and all that, like getting drunk and in line. But the police just stand by for what? I don't know, like.
Stand by for what? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's funny there because then like, when I needed like a noise complaint against my former roommate, they didn't do anything. But then they pulled me over having the wrong lights on my bicycle.
In Tabby's Discord server, there was a tweet of like, and Tabby has mod duties as well as Lynn P, so they can share it if they want to too. Basically, a black woman was like sentenced to like 5 years in jail for not realizing that she was like ineligible to like cast a vote as well.
This is in Texas, yeah.
Yeah, in Texas, exactly.
Whereas in North Carolina, a woman cast a vote for her dead grandmother and got nothing.
Or like someone like tried to like vote like twice when he could in his work, but again got no punishment as well because white privilege.
White privilege.
Or as you call it, the United States of white supremacy.
The imperialist corporations of white supremacy. But but the United States of white supremacy, that's pretty close.
That's a really shitty name for a country. Oh, that could be like.
It's an accurate name for a country, is what it is.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing also like them because there's many people from Brazil and Honduras that consider themselves Americans because, well, they are on the American continent of South America. So it's just only in the United States do people say, if like someone that like immigrated from Honduras to the United States said, I am American, I'm from Honduras, and she got bullied because like they're like, no, you're not American. We are American, you're Honduran. And so
I like to say we're estadounidense because that really pisses off the white supremacists.
But it's just like who said it oh yeah, I think you said it like one of these weeks before. Cat. Nope, I'm shutting up right now. What I had to say was not important, Cat. Okay, but you said like the rest of the Americas are the real Americas, while the United States of Americas are the fake Americas.
Mm-hmm. Because the rest of the Americas have natives.
To be fair, we kind of do too. We just like, but remember,
we just sort of shunt them off into the least productive regions until we find something we want there, and then we go and take that and send them somewhere else.
Yeah, the most we allow them to do is like have casinos as were, and we like that because that way we are not the ones that sponsor the casinos and gambling and stuff like that. It's on the individualization, their own sovereignty as were. Which Joey, you can jump in at any. Remember, Joey, you have the link, and you can jump in at any time to correct us white people and Isaiah about what we're getting wrong as well.
Well, I mean, when it comes to like Native Americans, it's kind of weird how that's all they got was casinos. They didn't get anything else back.
They can sell fireworks too that you can't sell in the United States as well. So like more dangerous fireworks. So, and again, actually, we should all preface this as well. Some do, not all Native American or indigenous tribes have their own casinos. However, if there's a large enough casino in your area, like in Tacoma, there's the Emerald Green Casino. Is where I thought that was like not happened to be a casino that was actually run in Washington State. And there's some that are run in Washington State, like the Great American Casino. There was the Diamond Lilies that was in actually Renton, but then that got burned down. Actually burned down. But no, it turns when I was like hitching a ride from a friend from Seattle to Portland to go to ComeriCon, I did saw it was like, oh wait, the Emerald Green Casino is part of the Puyallup tribe. And Puyallup is actually named the city that's in that region too. What's the large fair that happens every time in September? It used to be called the Puyallup Fair, but now it's just called the Washington State Fair. Fourth largest fair in the city, in the whole world. A fourth largest annual fair in the whole world.
I've been to Mohegan Sun
in
Connecticut.
Oh, are those the people? No. There is a big Foxwoods. That was the name of the casino. That's a big poker tournament casino that's in Connecticut as well. No,
there's two casinos in Connecticut. I haven't been to the other one.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been to a casino in Buffalo. Nah, that must have been when we went to Niagara Falls.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, it's right across the river. I know there's a casino on the Canadian side of the border in Niagara Falls because the World Poker Tour does like have a stop there.
Oh no!
I'm sorry, I'm not paying attention to
Seneca.
the chat.
No.
Oh yeah, okay.
There's a Seneca casino in Buffalo.
Yeah.
So I might have been there. I don't know.
Hey, you don't remember where you've been? That
was
like
20 years ago.
Days.
Come on.
Okay, 20 years ago. But your college days.
But I definitely have been to Niagara Falls. $100 playing craps.
I've been to San Francisco.
I have not been to San Francisco. We drove. No, we did not drive. We flew. I've been to Los Angeles and Anaheim.
Did you like Los Angeles?
I was only there to when I was in 8th grade to go to Disneyland, and so how I felt about it was just like, I was a kid and hey, I get to go to Disneyland.
It's so weird with when like people like Tucker Carlson call Los Angeles and San Francisco socialist cities, but they're some of the most expensive cities to live in.
Oh, hey, Joey's here. Sorry, I did not know this. Are you here?
I am. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Hey, Joey.
Right on. How's it going?
So the funny thing is that just happened like just before like I got on. So I was just like sitting in the AMV in the main events hall, watching anime music videos as were, and then on my phone, someone came up and tapped me on the shoulder and goes, "Are you at the so and so bus stop waiting for the bus number like regularly at night?" I was like, "Yes, I am. I recognize you because of your hat." So I met my bus stop acquaintance.
And here I thought you were about to, tell a story about how you had to escape from a stalker. Or even better, if somebody recognized you from the show, that would have been awesome.
Okay, no. Someone recognized me from like the show or my Twitch streaming. That would be awesome. Hey, Lynn P. Hey, Mitchell. Now I'm finally seeing the oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about the off sales like cigarettes as it were because like no taxes on the reservation as opposed to in the United States. That's another thing.
Yeah. Any place that you see casinos, it's been okayed by the state first. That's the trick with casinos. You can't just, we're semi-sovereign nations, not sovereign
right.
nations. And so we have to wait for the state to make things legal
Well, actually,
before we can then have the
didn't
casino.
what's his nuts, the far right wing howler monkey douche canoe, not the religious one and not the rapist, Gorsuch. Didn't Gorsuch recently do something in Oklahoma that reinforced
yeah.
native sovereignty?
Yes. Yeah. That whole, well, they're trying to get it reversed now. There's like, I can't remember how many townships and counties are now all part of a big, giant lawsuit that they're trying to file to reverse that.
Of course.
On what ground?
Like
the Supreme Court just decided it, and the Supreme Court is the highest court.
Yeah, they're trying to reverse it on the grounds that they've had all of these many years that they've been able to be in charge. And so what they're trying to do is just take the wind out of the sails. Because if that works, if it works in Oklahoma, it's going to work in all 50 states. It's going to work across, well, okay, not Alaska, sorry, and not Hawaii. So not all 50, just the 48 contiguous. It'll work in all those states so that you've got all of these 574 federally recognized tribes that have all been promised different sorts of land in different places. And people like Lakota people, if we get back to the 1868 treaty, where it's a huge portion of the prairie area in the middle of the United States that was under our control. If it goes back to that, there's going to be a lot of pissed off white people in South Dakota. A lot of pissed off white people.
A lot of pissed off racist white people. Wait, that's redundant.
I mean, it's again, the exception to the rule is you find a anti-racist or a non-racist white person. That especially
I believe we're called race traitors. Stop trying to.
Oh yes,
that does that. Start trying to deny my pronouns. I identify as race traitor.
And honestly, I don't mind doing that. I'm fine. If someone said like you're anti-white, I was like, well, yes, I'm anti-white supremacy. Oh, you see, white supremacy and whiteness is the same thing. So I'm against whiteness as well.
Whiteness is a stupid bullshit nonsense nothing that was invented to hurt people.
Yes,
so I'm okay
it was. Well, yeah, because like we had to invent the blackness as well. Because
yeah, and it's all it is just the result of not enough sun for enough generations. That's it.
We needed to get that vitamin D, so we got rid of the melanin.
Best way to survive during the
ice age. I gotta say, black folks don't get sunburned as much.
I don't know if I told this on the show before, but the meteorologist for Come 4 News in Seattle is a black man, Steve Pools. I was about to say Tim Pools. Like no, that's the wearing effort on like the internet as well. And so Steve Pool, he as a black man was asked, "Is it possible to get sunburned through the clouds?" And he goes, "How can I know?"
Como?
What?
You said he works
Como 4 News, KOMO, as it's their local affiliate for CBS as well.
Yeah, I know that's the news with that really creepy guy who's like, in Seattle there is a problem. Homelessness is rampant on the streets.
Okay, I don't watch the news that much because Coma 4 is honestly a lot of news as you see covered. Even Seattle is kind of like conservative, so it's like I only briefly like back in like June of 2020, as where I like was looking at the reports for like the protests that were happening that I kind of like saw happen as it were, and oh yeah, as typical, they sided with the police on certain counts, like one that was a clear sign of like a police brutality as it were, but yet they were saying, look, the protester chucked their water bottle at the cops, and that was That's it. That's it. That's all that like was necessary for the police actions that they did was like enough for like pinning him down with like another cop on his back and stuff like that. I think the person did live, but like it looked like, oh god, where are we going? Is this going to happen again? And so I think it was a white person too, but still, but it's we'll have a solution to that. Seize the unused houses that investors sit on to raise their profits and give them to the unhoused. Exactly. Yeah, and yeah, the Limpy, like the local news coverage of like cops, it's just like terrible. That's where Carl Maza has an excellent video on that of why we love the police, as it were, because the local news, they have the simple story, as it were, of like problem solution, as it were, and where you go directly to the cops, as it were, as the source of the story, as it were. They say this is what happened, and this person's arrested, and it's like nice, simple, it can be done in like a 3-minute segment, as it were. Or there you go, and move on, and next to the next news story. But yet, like that's why the 3-minute news segments are shorter. Never ask the bigger question about like why there's so many unhoused people, why the laws are set up the way it is, all these other things, because like, but they know they have to like get all the news stories because if it bleeds, it leads. Because even your local news still needs to like make revenue from advertisements, as it were.
And before I want to segue to something talking about police brutality. But first, I want to point out that not really possible to get sunburned through cloud cover if it's like completely overcast. The real danger is when it's partly cloudy.
Yes, and
because
actually,
then it'll be cool, but the UV rays can still penetrate the light cloud cover.
Oh yes, and actually this happened yesterday early in the morning. I'm in Portland, and so Pacific Northwest. It was raining, but there was still sun shining. The sun's coming through in the corner and down the 45-degree angle, as it were. Well, there's clouds on top of them, like it's with the precipitation. Happens all the time in Seattle and Portland, honestly.
Yeah. And so, yes, 255 AD, I did get Howler Monkey from opening arguments, and that's what I want to segue to, actually. I was going to identify it as, a show with a couple of liberals.
Yes.
They talked about Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh, yes.
I hadn't even heard anything about the trial, even though, according to Thomas, it's been making the rounds in left Twitter, by which he means progressive liberal Twitter. Which is
yes.
But now, once again, Andrew, perfectly prominent on top of the law, doing just fine there. But Thomas mischaracterizing the leftist position kind of annoyed me. It's like, oh, they'll say all cops are bastards and prosecutors are cops and so blah, blah, blah. But now, as soon as Rittenhouse is on trial, then they're totally No, we're not. I mean, we do get a little bit of schadenfreude at seeing, white supremacists caught up in a white supremacist system and whining about it. The latest habituation room was full of the January 6th insurrectionists complaining about prison conditions. But no, I mean, they gave us bologna sandwiches. This is insupportable. I mean,
yes, welcome to being in prison. It's worse when there was like the Texas freeze and like the prisons barely had any food to get their prisoners. They gave just a hot dog or like just like orange, yellow, brown clump of something. I think it was cornbread, as it were, or just like So it's like no, prisoners are treated like shit because to some people, prisoners are not humans.
Yep. And so, I mean, like, Habituation Room spelled it out, quite clearly, quite effectively. No, it's sort of, you can't unbuild the master's house using the master's tools or whatever the expression is. It's just that, we have to abolish prison. The carceral state is not going to abolish white supremacy. These one or two random people got caught up, and, that sucks for them. But who's not getting charged? The large number of police who are actively hunting people in the streets of Minnesota. I mean, during the thing. I mean,
well, and who also isn't getting charged are the people who incited it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, during the police riots, the cops are out there hunting people in the street because they're, daring to stand up to police violence. And at 1/6, January 6th, I mean, they're not going after Trump. They're not going after the main Republicans. It's just the few people who were on the ground and got caught. They never actually go after the leadership. They only go after the absolute high-profile on the ground cases that they absolutely have to. I mean, I have no doubt that the prosecutor for Rittenhouse is going to do the best possible job they can, just because it's an incredibly famous case. But they're not going to solve the problem.
Well, another thing is that so like the victims in Cal Rittenhouse is like a trial as well. I can understand for a court of law that has to be impartial, and if you like named the people that Carol Rittenhouse has shot as victims, that does stack against Cal Rittenhouse. I can understand that.
That's prejudicial. Yeah,
exactly. But
that's what Andrew spelled out. And then the judge seems to be old cranky white guy. He'll probably keep the trial, nice and fair, and won't let the defense get away with shenanigans. Won't let the prosecution get away with too much either.
But the victim, the people with the Kyle Rittenhouse shot can only be called looters and rioters, or something like that.
If they demonstrate that.
Okay. Okay, that's that part I forgot. Yeah.
I mean, the prosecution said, hey, if we're not allowed to call them victims, he can't call them looters and rioters. And arsonists, I think it was what it was. The judge said if he manages to demonstrate that those people were blah, 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 then he could. But he would have to present that as evidence. He couldn't just...
Exactly. Isn't the jury a problem? Majority in black area, but like 11 of the jurors are white. Yeah,
that's in Georgia.
Well, this probably is in Kenosha and Wisconsin too. I think from last I knew, that like only one of the jurors for the Kyle Rittenhouse case is black, as it were, and so it's it's always like the problem when you try to find like a jury of your peers on some of these cases too.
Mm-hmm. But prosecutors like white juries for black defendants and vice versa and so on.
So, do you have sorry to like a derail, but do you have our featured list up so we can thank them?
That's scrolling across the screen.
Okay, scrolling across the screen as well. Thank you to our patrons.
But yes, let me pull that up. So just sorry, Thomas. No, liberals might be conflicted because liberals, still support prisons. Leftists are not conflicted. We have a fairly straightforward, comprehensive understanding of this. So, thanking our patrons, thank you, Mylan, Marty, Ailey, Yo, the Fuckboys, Tim, and Von Rack.
Thank you to the patrons. Thank you for so much for giving us money for doing this.
It really does help.
We had this conversation before. 25 AD before as well. It's just wait, how can we be like a person and police abolitionists and yet still will take Schadenfreude for like all Rittenhouse and the January 6th internationalists? Is because
I'm not in favor of people dying of plague, but I do still take joy from the right-wing pundits and grifters who have been shouting, "Don't get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated," who then get the plague and die.
It's our only form of having any kind of comeuppance for for people who are doing this kind of shit. Like, it's our only way, it's our only source. And so I'm perfectly fine with feeling cool that this dipshit is caught up in the system that usually targets people like me. I'm perfectly fine laughing at this jackass, and I'm laughing about it from two different angles. One, I'm laughing at him having to go through the system. Two, I'm laughing at the system having to actually charge and persecute the people that it normally protects. Sorry,
prosecute. You get persecuted, we get prosecuted. Big difference.
But I'm just tired of seeing people like that get away with things. And so when they finally go to freaking trial, I'm just like sitting here going, ha, everybody's gonna know now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, also
it gets to be a matter of public record.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, but it was over determined that the police officer earlier this year, or a while ago, the police officer who shot Jacob Blake 7 times, that spurred the Kenosha uprising that it did, he was let go, no, he got no punishment, just like a short work leave, as it were, like a paid vacation, as it were. And I think the police commissioner just like it kind of defended him as in some ways. Well, of course he would do that. It's where so it's like there was barely an punishment to the police officer that shot Jacob Blake. So it's like it's not much.
Ideally, ideally, we live in a system where somebody like Kyle Rittenhouse doesn't even happen. That's the ideal, that people like that don't even happen. But since we don't live in that, we have a system in which people like that do happen. We have to be able to do something. And then your next level of idealism is that this kid, who is a kid, he was only 17 years old.
Yeah.
Ideally, this kid gets into help programs once he gets into the prison system that can then help him with his whatever, anger management, learning critical thinking skills, blah, blah, blah. But we don't rehabilitate our prisoners. And so that's not going to happen either. What's going to happen is this dumbass kid is going to get thrown into a system where he's got backup because there are white supremacist gangs inside of the prison system. He's going to have plenty of protection when he goes in. He's going to have backup. He's probably going to get to be a better criminal while he's in there. Yep. Like he's not going to get rehabilitated.
He's going to get. I'm thinking that Rittenhouse already has white supremacist, like explicitly white supremacist leanings because he picked up an automatic weapon, traveled across state lines to go and stop, to kill demonstrators who were protesting against police violence,
to protect small businesses, which he already had.
And it's obvious he got these from his parents.
Yeah. So I mean, if he ends up in like an actual, if he ends up in a high security prison of some point, because I mean he killed someone, and so on. It's just, I wouldn't be surprised if he got recruited and protected by a white supremacist prison gang. Aryan Circle, Aryan Brotherhood, whatever.
And Wafa and that sort of thing too. 255 AD. It has
when Andrew and Thomas talk about our side, they say left, but they mean liberals. Yes. And liberals, the Democratic Party is a really big tent. Because the Democrats are the not fascist party, which includes like 90% of the U.S. So there are conservatives, pro-state violence conservatives in the Democratic Party. So that could be what he meant. Or he could be talking about tankies. I wouldn't be surprised if there are pro-execution tankies out there.
There's going to be plenty of those too.
Let's see.
You're right, Mithril. It's not about, definitely not. It's about punishment and enslavement. That's what our prison system is for. Officially it's punishment, unofficially enslavement.
That's the whole point of the 13th Amendment, as it were.
Well, that was a giant loophole because back then prison wasn't really a thing as a punishment.
That's what I thought. Yeah. I figured they did.
Just sentencing someone to hard labor was a way to punish them and make sure that people wouldn't want to commit crimes. You'd rather executed, fined, or hard labor sort of thing. Prison was a place you awaited trial or punishment.
Yeah.
It wasn't a punishment itself.
That reminds me, I've been listening. Past week, I've been listening to the Benjamin Dixon show. They have on the journalist George Ford on regularly, and at Rikers Island, there was like basically like a prisoner protest. They brought on protest. It's like unsafe conditions, unsavory. Just like they don't even have a working toilet. You have to go into that corner for the excrements to pile up, essentially like that. And the problem is like, and these were like photos that were going around Twitter that I haven't seen, but like, and most of them are just young black men as well, just for some petty crime, as it were, or for something like a holiness, whatever. But that's the thing is like they go to Rikers Island for awaiting trial, and also the whole problem with like the bail bondsman system as well. So just
Khalif Broder.
Yes.
Khalif Broder was arrested on suspicion of stealing a backpack. He refused to plead guilty, so the prosecution sent him to Rikers Island to await trial, and then the prosecution just kept on saying, we're not ready to go to trial with this yet, so the judges kept on deferring it. He spent, let's see, how long? 3 years in prison.
3 years.
For allegedly stealing a backpack that he didn't do. He was held in solitary confinement for much of that time. He was assaulted. And after he was released, the trauma he had suffered there eventually led him to die of suicide.
Yep.
That is our carceral system.
Yep. And again, it was a young black gentleman, as always, as usual. This can happen to like white people. That does happen, but disproportionately against like non-white people. That's where black people especially. So yeah, that's our prison system as we're in the bail bondsman again, because like if you don't have the money to pay, you are going to prison, and as we're, and again, you that's even before you get sentenced. And when you do get sentenced, and again, where it's like the number, how many judges are there that happen to be black, as it were, and compared to how many judges happen to be white cis men, as it were.
Well, since Trump and Mitch McConnell totally fucked over the president's judicial system, yeah, it's not just cis white men; it's cis white supremacists.
But also, it's like in a lot of places, and we just had local elections as well, because November 2nd was actually election day. And yes, every year there's elections, as it were, but it's like local elections. Sometimes in those elections, you do vote for the judges, as it were, 6-year terms or something like that. And Roy okay, Moore. Who should I vote for the judge? I guess I'll give it back to the incumbent then. Or sometimes they go unopposed. You can't. So unless you know someone really progressive that wants to be in that position, which is always kind of a problem for someone who wants to be in that position of power, especially in this judicial system as well. And they often just like will be there for like I don't know, until they decided like I'm done, I quit this work. But also prosecuting offices too. Like in Washington State, some guy wrote in his dog or put his dog on the ballot to be the public attorney, as it were, because one guy was always the public attorney for like in the county for decades, as it were. Because yes, you can be like the PA for like that long, as it were. Yeah, I think our judicial system was fucked before Limpy. I'm pretty sure it'd be hard to find like it
was.
Yeah,
it's been fucked since whoever it was decided to invent this shit. It's just been fucked the whole time. I mean, it's basically dungeons. Yeah, and like we've come so far away from dungeons in every other sense except for our judicial system. Like every other sense, we have come so far away from that particular time period when those things were popular. Like, except for your occasional king or queen across the globe, which are usually just kings or queens in name only. They're almost always, capable of being undermined by the populace at any time. Like England, I don't even know why they even bother having a queen anymore. Like,
yeah, why? That's why they bother
she
having
doesn't really have any power. Like, yeah, Mithril.
Why haven't you done something about that, Mithril? Fuck you, Mithril. You fucking Lancashire prick.
Hey, Mithril, we're picking on you because Tim is not here, and Tim also lives under the same monarchy too. And I don't see like Groundhog 2010 in the live chat too, and she lives in New Zealand too, so they're technically under the same monarchy too. But yeah, it's like it's kind of funny when you like if you read in the history or taught the history of like the Spanish Inquisition, as it were, and you think, oh, that's horrible, this is terrible, or you see the dungeons in the museums, as it were, at medieval times, and so, oh, that's horrible, that's terrible, oh, we should never do anything like that. But they don't teach you about the prison system at all, do they? No, they teach you to like listen to the police, as it were, because you want to avoid that.
The police are here to help us. They're our friends.
I don't trust the police.
Yeah, don't blame you. It's like it took a lot of re-education.
Nobody should trust the police.
I had to really relearn a lot of those kind of things in just like the past 4 years or so.
It would only cost $30 in the U.S.
Yeah, 255 AD says like my dad had a knee replacement free on the NHS. Just the replacement fee itself Oh, it's for $30. I don't know.
Try $30,000.
That makes more sense. It's worth. And this is important on insurance or off insurance because like and yes, even in the U.S., you still get waiting lines. Believe me or not, there have been even before the pandemic, there were waiting lines at the ER and places like that, and yet anyone who's like pro like privatized medicine as it were, or against Medicare for all, they say, oh, I don't want to wait in long lines like in like the UK or Canada. And it's just like we wait in lines here in the US. It's just
It's just that, some people are able to go to the front of the line because they're rich. Some people are never able to get in line because they're poor.
Well,
the only people who have to wait in line are the middle class.
Making silly points like, all of the things that we won't have under communism. And I'm just like, we don't have those things under capitalism either. Hello.
Yeah.
Like,
or last night actually, like a friend of mine, and this one's a friend, and he said, well, like the socialist countries like Norway and Sweden is like, and I did have to like stop him there and said like, no, those are social democratic countries. And like our friend Ellie have said, and like David can also say as well, and any other friends from those countries as well, okay, they're better than US, yes, but the neoliberalism is affecting them as well. They're getting austerity problems as well. So it's just like and yes,
and they've got problems with a backlash from their populations of racism because a lot of their refugees are dark in skin color. Yep. And so their white supremacists are going pretty strong in those areas too. I mean,
yeah. Occasionally, the fascists in like Greece will get arrested as a worker. Seeing his photo of he's got arrested was actually really sweet. He was grumpy as all hell and angry, but that's only occasionally as work. Because like I'm sure like our European friends can tell us about like oh yeah, the fascists has always been there. They just don't go away. They kind of get quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean, they were the ones in charge that started the genocide. It like. Mm-hmm. When you look at the people in power that are doing the most horrific things, it's almost always the ultra conservatives.
Yeah,
almost always.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost always the ultra conservative people in power that are doing the worst things to either their own populations or populations outside of themselves. Mm-hmm. And so if you look back in history, it was the very same people who are trying to get power now, these alt-right people, and the people that we're discussing right now were the ones that were in power during some of the worst times in human history, some of the most bloody, nasty, genocide-y,
Andrew Jackson, the Confederacy, Woodrow Wilson. I mean, the South has just generally always been a white supremacist fascist state. It was only very recently that sort of started to open up. And then the Supreme Court rolled back to the Voting Rights Act.
Oh yeah, that's that. I mean, like wasn't that
I'm not going to say that I'm not going to say that it's a cultural thing, but it kind of sort of is. Because if you go back, like, let's say you go back into Lakota culture where we were more anarchists like 150 years ago, pretty much had, more of an anarcho-communist state. That's basically what we had. There were no prisons. There was no word for stealing or crime.
You kept slaves. Something probably. That's what. You had slaves.
No, actually,
you were just as bad as the white people.
Lakota didn't.
No.
Lakota were one of the people who went and fought and brought slaves in to our people so they could be adopted and so they could get married and have kids and be free.
Cherokee did something similar.
But the culture itself, if you look at it, yeah, of course, back then we had our people who had a tendency towards a more fascist mindset. There are always going to be personalities that tend to like a higher level of discipline. They want more of a hierarchy around themselves. They want to see something that's more a more up-down command system. They need a stronger level of discipline. It's just their mind culture that can give that to those people without sacrificing the tolerance, the open-mindedness, the laissez-faire sort of the opposite end, the spectrum, where you've got your anti-authoritarians. People like me don't deal well with people who have a tendency towards fascism.
You say jump, I say fuck you.
Don't get along with. Exactly. You say jump, and I'm now going to say hell no. Even if I was already going to jump, now I just have to go against you. I might like jumping. Now I have to say no because you told me to do it. Like,
I don't like it now because you told me to
sort of mindset. Exactly. Just because you told me, now I can't. But I mean, if you've got people who have that tendency, who are the polar opposite of people who have the tendency to want to try to tell you what to do. That's their personality type. They want to try to tell you what to do. They think you should have to listen. If those two people can find in a culture a way to coexist in a healthy and organized way, so that each one can appreciate the strengths of the other, then you've got a decent culture that's going to be able to go forward in a balanced way and be able to govern themselves. Like that's the whole key, is being able to govern yourself in these sorts of systems. If you can govern yourself so that you're doing the right thing, even when people aren't looking, because those are the values somebody helped to raise you with. Like, those are encultured values. If you've got a culture like the dominant culture, the mainstream culture right now, that actually teaches you that when nobody's looking, you should take advantage. That's the time to take advantage of other people.
Oh yeah, that was.
Then
like,
I mean,
or when people are not looking, you can go ahead and do the thing that's like beneficial to you. So that, as in like that one study about how autistic people have like more strict morality, as it were, the observed or unobserved, or like a factor that they factored in.
Yeah, that's called integrity. Like,
whoa! I feel attacked.
Like,
integrity goes against white values.
People have integrity. Like, I mean, it's a cool thing to have. It's nice to know that some people just I guess have that innately in them. It's an inherent thing. But again, people who don't then should maybe take a look at people who do and think, you know what, that's a positive thing to have. So maybe I should practice it even if I don't feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree, definitely. You're about to say, Isaiah?
Well, it's like my adopted mom doesn't really see it that way. Like when I would explain to her things about like certain like social ills, she'll just, I guess, kind of just ignore it, despite it makes sense. So I definitely have people who have ignored me because I've had a more like just sense of morality. People just kind of just ignore me and stuff.
And that's unfortunate, especially when it's like, no, you just like, you see this as like it's the wrong thing to do no matter what, and like, I'm not going to do it, and and yet people find that to be weird or like abnormal, as were. It's frustrating.
But it's funny because then they want me to believe in God, where it's like, well, why should I believe in God if you don't even want to hear what I got to say? Your God can fucking shove it, as far as I'm concerned.
Take your God and shove it. I don't worship here no more.
Plus, like the Abraham God is like, okay, yeah. Old Testament, like Old Testament, he's an interesting guy if we just accept that it's just like fiction in the Old Testament.
See, when people say God, the first thing I gotta ask is like, which one first? Because the one that I believed in was not the Christian one. It wasn't the Judeo-Christian one. It wasn't anywhere near any of those three Abrahamistic faiths. It's almost nothing like those things. And so like when people start talking about God and then immediately start segueing into Christianity, like you've already lost me. Like that I didn't even know what that religion was about until I was like 9-10 years old, and then the adults around me were like, oh no, these people, yeah, this is what they believe.
Hey
And
Joey,
at that point you're just like, they believe what?
hey Joey.
No. That piece of wafer, when it enters into our mouth, as we say, that becomes the body of Christ. Yes, the body of a piece of body of a 2,000-year-old dead guy. That's word.
And
And
wine
that
is
wine,
blood.
and that wine, which tastes terrible. That
I would
wine
prefer
is
not
supposed
to engage in ritual cannibalism every week, which
I
is
know,
why I
right?
worship
It's like
the
the
cosmic
shittiest
butthole.
wine too. Like of all of the blood, you're like, it's the blood of your God, right? Shouldn't you guys like be trying to make it the best tasting wine and not the nastiest ass wine you've ever had?
Worship the cosmic butthole. The universe is a dingleberry of the cosmic butthole.
Use a nice
And fear the
Merlot.
coming of the cosmic bidet.
Okay, the cosmic butthole, or like we must eat the dingleberry. We must remember.
No, we
that
are
part.
the universe that we know is the dingleberry. There might be
The
other
universe
dingleberries.
is
We don't know.
the universe is the dingleberry coming from the cosmic butthole. We must remember this for our future titles. Linwood. That's P. It's very fair. Alcohol smells weird anyway, as it were. I gotten used to it, as it were. But I would like to try out these like low-cal bookstores, as it were, if they sell like diet books, as it were. But yeah, no, the Mithril, you're right. The Dawn of Everything by like David Graeber and David Wingo is like sounds a really interesting book. I saw a talk that
Anarcho-Dadbot is still with us in spirit.
Well, David Wingro, who's a archaeologist, as it were, not the Indiana Jones kind, of course, the one that just like sits
there are
at
no
a desk and
Indiana
does
Jones
research.
kinds.
The only problem with the Indiana Jones kind, it belongs in a museum. Okay, who gave you the authority to do so? You're taking something from someone else's culture, right? Oh yeah, Tavi. Oh heck, God's wolf remembers having a conversation with the
It belongs in a museum. Let's just take it from these people and stick it in a museum.
No, Tavi. I remember that conversation you're referring to and who you're referring to. Oh yeah, that went to hell quite fast when someone Tavi is of course a heathen, a pagan. Correct me of like which gods you like pray to, or if you want to share. I think Norse gods. But yeah, she asked like which gods, to which the person said, "Well, the Abrahamic ones." And yes, someone had a problem with just that question, and it went to hell. Essentially, I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, that was happening to me before I was an atheist. Like it's been happening to me for decades. I mean, people start talking about God and they immediately launch into the idea that you're talking about the Abrahamistic ones. And I'll be sitting there, I used to be anyway, sitting there and going along with the conversation and talking about, God stuff, because I was a clergy person too. And, in my people, I am a philosopher. I am a scholar in that way. And so I'm sitting there and going along with it. Oh yeah. And this and that and this and that. And then they're like, oh, and which sect do you belong to? What are you, like a Baptist? And I just would start laughing. No, I'm a pagan. Why would you just automatically think that I'm a Christian? Well, you were talking about God. Yeah, we have those in other faiths as well. Like we have ceremonies and rituals and everything.
I mean, honestly, until I don't know when it was in middle school.
I think Geek is the only one who has the authority to talk about this right now because obviously he's streaming live from heaven.
That is kind of what that light looks like when
it completely blows out the background. It's just completely white except for this bright halo behind you.
While I'm dressed in all black as well with a bloodborne hat too.
Just needs a couple of herald angels.
I have the Jesus beard too. It's the Jesus beard too.
You know what someone told me one time?
Mm-hmm.
they told me that I think it was this is probably Franklin Graham that asked White. He said that that like there's all these like white pastors that go around and say that God's given America more than any country, which I don't know if that's racist or is that xenophobic. It's probably both.
Both. It's just white
No, but
supremacy and wrapped up in religion.
no, but it's like really he's giving us more like so. I guess I would have to ask when was it when white folks came or was it when the Native American? Okay.
I mean, according to the Mormon faith, that's where the indigenous people of Americas were connected to like Jesus and the Jews in Israel too.
Yeah, it depends on who you ask. Like
Mhm.
I found out that I actually can get along really, really well with Black Israelites because Black Israelites consider us the lost tribe of Israel, and so they like think that we have some things that might actually be worth listening to, and that's already different than white supremacist Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mhm.
white supremacist Christians look at people like me and just go,
The devil
I
has
mean,
horns.
I'm like, come at me, I don't give a shit if people call me Satan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tabby does sound like a Evoking Man, that's Destiny myth. Exactly. That's it. Yep, I heard that several times.
yeah. Well,
Pretty
that's what
much,
the
Lindy.
Manifest Destiny was all about. The
Mm-hmm.
Manifest Destiny was that,
Our destiny has been made manifest. We must go west, and
right.
there's nobody there. Don't worry. We don't have to commit a genocide.
Well, what genocide gets committed is because God said it was okay.
The
Yeah.
Black Israelites and the Mormons have slightly different beliefs, I think. I don't know too much about the Black Israelites. Just that
Dude,
they're a
Mormons are
really
weird.
weird
I've been to
sect.
their church. I've never seen so many white folks in my life.
Hey, Julie. Hey, Latino. Go bed. Have good resties.
Julie!
Love you, Julie. Take
Say
care.
thank you to Mylan for us.
Bugs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
It's
either
I should also preface this that I probably should do my own research on what the Mormons believe because, like, what I base off of what the Mormons believe came from Bill Maher's religiosity documentary,
Um,
and
they believe that one of the tribes of Israel was brought um, out of Israel to the Americas in wooden submarines, and that they conquered the land. And I can't remember exactly what they believe about Native Americans, but it's not good. Um,
Yes, they also believe the same thing that we're the lost tribe. And they actually took it a step further, though. They did something the Black Israelites have never done. Mormons started to go onto reservations and literally kidnapped Native American children. Everybody, when I was a kid, we used to be scared of the yellow buses because that's what they always showed up in. They would show up in a big yellow school bus and they would start talking to the little kids on the reservation and get them onto the bus and just take them. Just
mhm.
take off, take them across lines. And because they were Christian white folk, a lot of the white folks around were just like, oh, whatever. They're going to get better homes and get educations with those white folks over there. So it was, they just didn't even care. Like kids
Mhm.
just disappeared like that, just disappeared.
that's why I'm
mhm.
not really that sympathetic to the churches all burning down in Canada.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, Tabby, take care. Have fun D&D as
Debbie.
well. Take care.
Like,
We'll try to remain silly as possible and like take care of the things as we're. It's already pretty abrupt topic change or like slightly topic change, but like Tabby Wolfus did provide me a something to bring up because Tabby Wolfus is of course on the spectrum. She figured that out before, and she has a bunch of STEM toys, including one that's an actual chew toy. And a lot of the things that she got those STEM toys from is a site called Stimtastic. That's where I just posted the
Oh, I've heard of that
Twitter.
before.
Yeah, I posted a Twitter announcement that they had made as where because unfortunately after 7 years they're closing their doors. It's sad news.
Hmm.
Aw.
So I do got like a statement ready to like read out basically what is happening. I made a difficult decision to indefinitely suspend syntactic operations. I'm going to sell out what I have in stock right now and won't be ordering anything else. Honestly, it became nearly impossible to get things, let alone at prices that are reasonable and in a reliable way, referring to like supply chain issue. That's what we've all been having. Adding to that, the health issues I've been having for months and all of the issues with shipping that only seems to like keep getting worse, it's all become too much. I have like a 60 loot boxes made up that I'm going to like add to stock right now. Some of them are really weird, hard to find things or holiday items, Halloween and Christmas in the same package. So if you like weird, unusual stuff and order about like $50 a loot box and put a note on in the order in comments, I'll send one of those out and blah blah blah. So yeah, health reasons, which is if someone can continue to doing something even if they love doing it for health reasons, Tabby had to stop working, Literal had to stop working, several of my friends had to like stop working because of disabilities was getting in the way. Phoenix had to stop working as well as like working retail is just hard on many people, and being hard on someone with depression and anxiety like Phoenix's were, that's also something they have to do. But the added cost of everything because of supply chain issues, because of capitalist and stupid like just-in-time delivery model, and the cost of everything is like going up, and as well as like things are being delayed as were everything cats the supply chain issues that everything is delayed as it were, and so it's like added everything to the cost. And so Syntax couldn't like continue to be able to sell things affordably at cost as were and be able to like break even as were, fortunately. So yeah, and hey, Fallen Rock, and so like, how you doing? It's been a while since we've seen you. You just missed Little Ano, unless she is still here as well. So like, good to see you. The Lost Tribe of the Israelites is tied into Mormon, but in a very different way than what the Israelites believe about the Lost Tribe. Yeah, I think Joey did mention that too as well. And not surprised that the terrible white Christians doing to indigenous people, just like in Canada. And Australia had a whole generation of lost generations of like, I think that was the Australian government that did that too. But it's just like, again, white people doing terrible things to indigenous people. So yeah, fortunately, Syntactic is closing their doors, and it's just like, and they've been going for 7 years selling like a Syntactic, good like stimming toys for a lot of autistic people, different like kind of brushes, again like necklace as it were, different kind of like fidget spinners and rings as it were. So it's quite unfortunate. So if you want to, so there's the Twitter, or you can search up Syntastics as it were. If you want to try to get the like very last Syntastic brand of toys, it's like do that as soon as you can if you have the money to do so. So yeah. American cultural appropriation isn't the most egregious example, but
the American cultural appropriation of St. Patrick's isn't the most egregious example.
Oh, St. Patrick's. Oh God. We often forget that, like, again, let's also remember white people will also colonize other white people.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Irish aren't really white.
Depends on who you ask too.
One of my students somewhat randomly, asked me in class the other day, do you support the IRA? And I said, do I support the cause? Yes. Do I support the bombings? Also yes.
What was their reaction?
They laughed, and then I just went on with class.
Didn't Sinead O'Connor make an Irish like fight song?
Sinead O'Connor? Possibly.
Sinead. It doesn't surprise me.
I know she pissed off the world by criticizing the Pope.
Yeah.
They're ripping up a picture of him.
She pissed off most of the world. There was a good portion of us that were like, do it again.
I mean, Madonna also pissed off the world too, or at least white Christians or conservatives, white Christians as well, for just like in like a prayer kissing the feet of a saint,
a black Jesus.
Oh, you always when there's racists involved too.
I wish I could be that black Jesus.
just like how the white Christians were upset at at Netflix for putting out Good Omens and wanted Netflix to cancel Good Omens because Good Omens had a Black Adam and Eve, as it were. To which Netflix said, okay, we will no, Amazon I think said it. Okay, we promise that. No, Netflix said, we promise that we will not cancel Good Omens if Amazon promises that they will not cancel Stranger Things.
Vice versa. Netflix has Stranger Things.
Exactly. That was the point. People were complaining to Netflix about Good Omens when Good Omens is owned by Amazon. Okay, speaking of apparently people need to be informed about this. Well, what actually has been happening on left Twitter or Twitter, at least this past week, is men, females below the waist have 3 holes, not 2. Okay, the streamer, and this is a big streamer, I have millions of viewers or something like that, or thousands of viewers as it were, Haz, H-A-Z as it were. You can tell he's a big streamer because this is his white mind that probably yells at his camera all the time. So he was on a streaming date, as it were, with a woman, as it were, and somehow the topic of anatomy comes up. But no, he said in all sincerity, when asked the question, it's so how many holes below the waist do women have? And he goes, 2? So there are 2 holes? Yeah. What are the uses of those 2 holes? One to poop and one to pee. And so where does the penis go then? Into the pee hole? and the woman was like, oh my God, you really believe this? This is she was laughing at this. She was just laughing at this the whole thing, as it were, because it's yeah, it's just extremely funny. Okay, to be fair, for half a second, I'll be like, there are 2 holes, right? No, wait, no. There is a urethra. It's in the vagina labia, as it were. Curiosity reply basically was showing with the actual picture of okay, this is the vagina, that's the vaginal hole, there's the urethra, there's the clitoris, there's the labia, there's the anus, as it were. Because apparently, just shows you the state of the sexual education here in America. Apparently, guys need to be pointing this out because again, Haz was it's in 40s or late 30s, as it were, and things below the waist that women only have 2 holes, one to pee, one to poop, as it were. It gets worse because some of the cishet dubros are saying, well, he is technically correct, as it were, and it's just oh God. Okay, just admit that you're wrong on stream. It's okay. Yes, it's embarrassing, but just admit you're wrong on stream and don't try to defend your position and prove that you're not wrong. It's okay to say, I don't know anatomy. At least we can laugh about that. I already seen a meme, as it were, it takes that Kardashian from Next Generation that was trying to brainwash Captain Kirk. Oh, I'm sorry. I got a phone call from my friend. I'm going to take this. I'm sorry.
And I gotta go, but I'll catch up with you guys next Sunday.
Okie dokie.
See you around.
Later's, Isaiah.
Bye, Joey.
Well, now we don't have enough people for Fishy Peshy.
Dang it.
Oh well.
You just have to save it for next week.
Mm-hmm.
So what's up with you, John Brockman?
Very little. Just, teaching classes, grading papers. As you can see, there's a stack of tests right there.
Oh, is that what that is?
Mm-hmm. They're in envelopes. That helps keep the cat from scattering them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We've got a new kitten, and she still raids garbages. So it's been me trying to get up in the wee hours of the night when I hear her and taking the spray bottle and trying to get her to quit doing that while not being so scared of me that she'll quit coming to me for scritches. So there's like this delicate balance that I have to keep, because it's not easy trying to discipline a cat. Like training cats isn't easy. You have to get them to do things because they want to do things. So you have to, I don't know, figure out how to come to an agreement on things. Like, I will let you lick the remnants of the soup can if you agree to stop toppling the garbage every night. Like, I have to figure out how to communicate this to my cat.
Get a trash can with a lid.
Right.
I have a dog, so that was rule 1. So
yeah, that makes sense. And 255 ID, that's probably is a good answer. That's like Haas is secretly a bird person, has a koi cat. Yep. I mean, because like yes, Bob Saget would bring this up too, that like the penguin has only one orifice, as it were, to which like Conan O'Brien will say, "What's wrong with you?" To be fair, actually, about Bob Saget, I could be probably find out something that like it's like I should know about Bob Saget, but actually, maybe as a comedian, as it were, maybe he told some jokes as well. But so far, it's just like, okay, actually, of comedians, Bob Saget's okay.
Seems to be.
Now his co-host on like Full House, not just John Stamos, says like, I don't think he did anything bad, as it were. Just
John
like
Stamos
real,
is
like,
just pretty conservative.
Okay, so
not conservative, but right wing, far right.
But the third guy, David Coulier or something like that. Yeah, no, the song by Alanis Morissette, you all know, that was about. Yeah, exactly.
He has a tendency to date singer-songwriters, or at least did back in the day.
I thought you were about to say like younger people. It's like, oh, that's kind of a problem.
Speaking of problems, I thought I remembered that the Black Israelites were a problem, so I did a quick Google, and yeah, according to Wikipedia, they're identified by the SPLC as hate groups because of anti-Semitic and anti-white beliefs. So.
Hotep is like another one of those things which are kind of closely related. Is like, okay, yeah, there are definitely like Hoteps as were, and definitely problematic Black people, absolutely, as a word. We just got to call out these problematic things if we see them, as were.
I remember looking up the Black Israelites because they were one of the groups that was being held apart by those drum-playing Indians at
that's right. That's where I remember them from too. Yeah, it was Mission for Right. It was like a Walk for Life thing. It was
one of the groups was the young white supremacist kids from the Catholic school, and the other group was Black Israelites.
Yeah, and the Black Israelites were actually there hollering stuff at the Native Americans. And that's how that's what drew the attention of the white alt-righters. Was that the Black Israelites were on their microphone and yelling things at the Native American people who were there doing their, just different sorts of pagan, rituals and stuff like that you're going to see tribal peoples do. And the Black Israelites were hollering stuff at them about going to hell and things like that, because while they believe that we're the lost tribe of Israel, they also believe that we have to be properly saved to be that. And so, of course, they're going to do the saving because, once you get religion in there, color doesn't matter anymore. That's the thing that I always caution people. You have to be careful, because even if you get white supremacy gone, you get white folks, back, everybody's in the nice, let's all be friends sort of state of mind. Let's say all that happens. It's super easy for anybody of any color to rise up and do the same shit using the very same, long list of steps that you can take to become a proper fascist. Like there's a formula there, and it's easy to take religion and exploit that formula because the formula is in religion. Religion looks to be supreme, whatever religion it is. Like
Except for the
every
cosmic
single
bubble.
one of them. Like we're the better ones for whatever reason. Even the one that I came out of, it was more of a haughty, well, we're the real ones because we're the ones who are more tolerant. We're the ones who, don't have a devil. We're the ones that it was still, we're better than other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Like, remember, the Dalai Lama claims to be the undisputed absolute monarch of Tibet.
Yeah.
And the people, the men at the
and the
monasteries
most enlightened of enlightens.
Mm-hmm. And the men at the monasteries do the same thing to the young boys at the monasteries as Catholic priests do to altar boys. So it's all fucked. Yeah, Jordan Joan P. I believe he did use that slur in his comedy, basically because of the fact that people used to use that as a rhyme on his last name, as I think how he used it. And yes. 255 AD, I was mostly joking with the kid. I do differentiate between the different kind of bombings for the IRA. So, but I don't necessarily. I don't support the IRA's religion. I don't think that they should be in charge of Ireland. I don't think anyone should be in charge of Ireland. But I think the English have been doing horrific things to Ireland for a very long time.
I just put a period at the end of that. I don't think anybody should be in charge.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's kind of like I probably already brought this up before, but like Peter Godelos and his Worshiping Powers, he kind of like noticed when basically like white Europeans were doing anthropology on like various different like indigenous tribes all around the world and stuff like that, because they have like a perspective on the world as so that they just see hierarchies in places as it were. So whenever they like see like, oh, but this place has a chief as it were, so they must have some kind of like similar top-down hierarchy. It's kind of the thing where it's just like you put yourself in the situation even though you probably don't know anything about that as it were. So that's where I honestly
having a chief is kind of like a co-op hiring on a manager.
That's what I thought too. Yeah. Exactly.
Everybody who works at the place, they're all the owners. I mean, that's what a co-op is. By definition, all the people who work there are the owners. They get together and decide, okay, you know what? We have to have a manager because there are managerial jobs that none of us want to do. So let's hire a manager.
We need someone to do the scheduling.
That's what a chief is.
Well, it depends on the community. Not all chiefs and not all communities are the same.
That's what it is.
The one you're most familiar with. Yeah. So
for Lakota people, that's how it works. Because we were a bunch of anarchists. There wasn't a whole lot of punishment for a whole lot of anything. There just wasn't. Most everything was accepted, tolerated.
Because like, and here's the thing is like I worked at like Adjoint Fabrics, etc., which is it was a big store too, but they had a manager on duty and so and like you said, like on their co-ops, if you think that like it's important to have like a manager or like a manager on duty, I had voted a bunch of them as were, and hey, if they can come together and have a council as were as well for like working out things as were, and also any one of the workers can also go to any one of them or to the council and also like state their grievances as were like equally as or to say, hey, I think it'll probably be better on this, and then everyone can vote or the managers can vote, and it's like so long as there's like accountability on all places and all fields as were, and it's like the power dynamics is just not heavily into like with the managers over the workers and vice versa and so on. I think that like it's a system that kind of like work as well, because honestly enough, I believe that people can get along just fine most of the time. Yeah,
you can put democracy in the workworkplace. There's no reason that you can't. In fact, I would argue that's the best place to put it.
No, exactly. Because one person has to be in charge. Otherwise, how would you know who's better than other people?
I need to get grading on my assignments, or else how would I know that I'm better than the other students? My child needs to have a certain grade, or else how else am I'm supposed to know how good my child is compared to the other children?
My truant student can beat up your honor student.
My punk knocked up your honor student.
I'm at an anime convention with like shonen and shoujo, like a manga. I'm sure that's actually a plot point in some of those things. And I think you're right, that Mithril, as where it's like the Celtic churches in Ireland and stuff like that, probably were pretty chill with the pagan, since where, of course, the trouble comes when the Catholics come and try to take over things,
well, isn't that like, wasn't that Catholicism? Didn't they pretty much take over all the pagan stuff and just make it their own so they could easier?
I think Mithril's talking about a more independent form of Christianity before the Catholic Church came in and colonized.
Yeah, but yeah, Catholics did take over all the pagan rituals of the winter solstice, of like the All Hallows Eves, of the spring,
and all the local gods either became demons or saints.
Well, and they also, all of the religious areas where the rituals were performed and ceremonies were held, they put churches on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like almost every place that you find a standing stone or a menhir, there's a church nearby if it's not right on top of it.
Except the big one. Circle. Stonehenge.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, Stonehenge. Again, one of the ones that like barely got any like
aliens.
I mean, maybe there's a few.
No. It wasn't aliens. It was white people. So not aliens.
That was totally aliens.
Some white people look very alien.
Oh, I saw a meme or saw a joke meme the other day about a person who was saying that, yeah, my girlfriend was learning about Stonehenge and she just looked at me and said, your ancestors are weak, and his girlfriend was Egyptian. And so his Egyptian girlfriend was like, your ancestors were weak. Because all his ancestors did was Stonehenge. I thought that was a pretty good way to look at it. Jeez, that's all you guys could do.
Well, remember, it's a lot harder to move rocks, those big stones, over mud than it is over sand. So cut them some slack.
There is that. I mean, that place is a soggy fucking place. Holy crap.
That
place is like a sponge.
Yeah, the UK islands is like the climate in the British Isles is like similar to like Pacific Northwest. It's like, yeah, it rains a lot.
Mm-hmm. It's like you have a watering can eternally over Britain.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the rainy season started in the UK in the 1600s and like it hasn't let up ever since.
Just wait though, it's changing. Climate change said London's gonna be like Mallorca in the next 30 years.
Remember the heat wave that was suffering under for like a week or so, or over a weekend? Yeah, it's like a heat dome, as it were. I'm sorry you feel attacked, Mithril. Very sorry about that.
Poor Mithril. It always comes back to
Soggy Island makes for soggy biscuits. What can I say?
I think Mithril's going to take that more personally than anything else, as it were.
Soggy biscuits, soggy sausage, soggy toast. I mean, come on.
That's a fair point, Von Rack. Egypt does have a large river, though, as well, to use. But like, what was? The heat dome that I was suffering under. Yeah, that's. I'm trying to imagine a heat dome over all of North America, or all of the Americas.
Well, I live in South Carolina. I'm quite familiar.
Yeah. So there were probably parts of the U.S. or like Arizona and Southwest or something like that. It's like, yeah, we don't feel it any differently. It's maybe harder, but it's like, yeah.
I had a friend who said to me that there isn't really that much of a functioning difference between 109 and 121.
I felt that.
and I stopped and thought about that for a second and went, you know what? There's a fair point. And so this friend of mine, of course, lives in near Death Valley in California.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a fair point. 109 as your as your normal high isn't actually that much different than 121.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Either way, you're
it
going to die.
feels either way, you're cooking, you're dry and cooking.
Which is why, remember, if you're going to do this speech for whatever reason, probably shouldn't do it at 109 at all, or something like that. But if you're going to do the speech, put sunscreen everywhere. Yes, and everywhere, because honestly, it does smell like bacon if you don't put it there. As John Brackman pointed out before, what do humans taste like? We taste like pigs. We're just like long bacon. Now, hey,
I have heard that.
Now, hey, the one advantage of like the hot suns as it were 105, those are great for like having solar like ovens as it were and cooking some things there and control the environments, of course.
Yep. I had a friend who had a solar oven, and it works anywhere where you have a lot of sun. And so even in a South Dakota winter, when it's like, you know, with the wind chill factor, it'll be sometimes 30, 40 degrees below zero. Like, it'll be so fucking cold. But because there's sun, and South Dakota gets a lot of sun, apparently, his solar oven works. And so he can leave his solar oven sitting outside with like a fucking turkey in it all day, and it'll work. He's got a cooked bird by the end of the day. It's like, it's amazing how well those things work. I love solar ovens.
FFS American cookies, as we get them here in the UK, are gloopy, disgusting things. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. We still love them though, but they're not wrong. Ginger biscuits, I can think ginger biscuits are like, we have gingerbread as it were.
Is that a threesome with Irish people? Ginger biscuits?
John, I have a sword with me. Okay, yes, our cheese is garbage. Yes, American cheese is garbage. Like, later on, it will back you up on that as well. Yeah, no argument from here.
I don't think our cheese is really cheese, is it?
Oh, it is cheddar cheese.
Like,
it's
not
just mass produced.
Not
and
by like the
definition
texture of like European cheeses. When Europeans say cheese, that's not the same thing as what we're talking about when we say it.
I mean, I had like at the convention center some nacho cheese. It's pretty much like it's just pretty much like petroleum. That's like you can like color it up to be like yellow as it were. And there's a little bit of like jalapeno oil or something like that to make it spicy as it were. It's not very spicy. But you know, yeah, they're like, hey, and if it's like just oil, then it's vegan cheese. It's not great.
Well, it is America.
Yes,
it wouldn't surprise me if it is a petroleum product.
That's the cheese that we served at the movie theater when I worked at one. I think all the movie theater nachos have the same kind of like cheese as were. I bet Mexican cheese is pretty good. Never had it though. I can't really argue. Maybe Joanna Roberts would like confirm that. So I'm just throwing that out there. If you were at a bar or something like that, and the one person at the bar who happens to be sober says that like, oh, well, the socialists and the communists are kind of similar to like Nazis that were, because like in order to like kill all the rich like socialists want to do, you have to like kill the Jews. Because that's what's said in the conversation I had last night.
Slightly drunk guy said that that the Nazis were actually
he was
socialists.
sober.
Oh, he was sober. Oh, then he has no excuse.
And this was someone who, yes, I'm Facebook friends with him because we have mutual friends. I'm friends with his like niece and his like brother. But I forgot what post it was. It was about like American slavery as were. He said, "Oh, white people were enslaved by other cultures in the past too."
Yeah, we're not talking about them though.
I hate that excuse. I hate that excuse so bad. I hate it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just like using the excuse. Yeah, well, you know, different indigenous tribes had slaves before Europeans arrived. which I have heard that argument said before. I've heard
I made
said
it facetiously earlier today.
Well, I've heard it said before in a real sense.
And seriously, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And every time I hear it, I'm like, okay, so for starters, it wasn't it was 5 tribes. There were 5 tribes that held slaves once Africans got here. They were the same 5 tribes that held slaves before Africans got here. Like that was that they were the 5 tribes that held slaves. Like they were pretty well known among the other 1,000 tribes. Like those 1,000 tribes that didn't hold slaves. Like
apology accepted, Joey. Thank you for being the adult about this.
But excusing it, like that, using that as an excuse, saying it's okay to have done this to African people because we were already doing it to indigenous people, or white people were already doing it to each other. That makes it okay. It doesn't make it okay. That just means that those assholes were assholes before and maintained their assholeism. There's no excuse for the assholeism. That's the whole point that people are trying to make. Like, it's like they're purposefully missing the point.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think Candace Owens tried to use that argument before to. Oh, God,
if all your friends were owning slaves off a bridge, would you own slaves off a bridge?
Yeah. Exactly. So, and this was a white person who was making this argument. This word, yeah, and I agree, Limpy. I hate when white people make this argument, and I'm pale too.
The Irish were slaves.
Yes. Okay. We just talked about the Irish, and yes, they were colonized too. That does not give them the excuse to be able to colonize other people or enslave other people as well. I mean,
and let's face it, the Irish were colonized, they were genocided. Yes, the British were awful, evil to everyone, but that doesn't make slavery okay ever. No.
Yeah.
Stop it.
No. Exactly. Yeah, but yeah.
And that it happened is important because, what gets me is that for all of the yelling that you hear the right doing currently about critical race theory being in elementary schools, for all of the hollering you hear them do, I actually wish it was. I wish that we had taken critical race
that would
theory
be wonderful
and figured out how to teach it to a younger crowd, and then start it off with little kids, because we got to do something to counter the bigotry that parents are giving them anyways.
Yeah.
And so why not teach them critical race theory so that they can undo the damage as they grow older, because they're going to understand it better. Like, that's the whole, like, if you want to change your future, you have to start with changing the kids who are the future.
Yes.
And so I like, for all the hollering they say about, teaching kids critical race theory, and I'm sitting over here going, you know what? I wish that all this shit that you people yell that it isn't true really was true.
Stop threatening us with a good time.
We were. Exactly. Like, I wish we were teaching kids critical race theory, you assholes. Like,
I mean, number -45 was like when he was promoting his 1776 projects where they're teaching Howard Zinn in their schools and stuff like that. Okay, who is taught Howard Zinn in their schools? Because I would love if I was given Howard Zinn's history books in schools and stuff like that. He wrote a young people's history of the United States and America.
We should teach Howard Zinn and David Graeber.
Yeah, exactly.
They're teaching kids Marxism. I wish.
Oh,
I really wish they were teaching kids Marxism.
Tell you, it's like we took God out of schools. It's like, okay, you want religious stuff in schools? Okay, tell you what, we'll do Bible study every day, but I pick the stories.
Oh Oh, okay. Here's where Jesus is going to be overthrowing like the bankers.
This is where
houses,
Jesus
like,
goes fucking insane and curses a fig plant. Do you think maybe he had women tied up in his basement?
Mithra, I love the architecture of my hometown, but it's an awful lot of it was built on the backs of the slave trade. Yeah, and honestly, I think Mithra would probably if anything that was built off of like enslaved people as were, I would be willing to give it up as a worry if it means that like there was no enslavement.
But that would mean we'd have to give up the United States.
Yeah, the whole thing.
I mean, I am willing to give up the United States. I am
and most of Western Europe and Central Asia,
Western Europe is pretty
West
old
Asia,
anyway.
Australia, Canada,
South Asia, a huge chunk of Africa.
pretty much all the Americas.
Yeah, Latin America too. Yeah, exactly. There was like enslavement in like across the both Turtle Island and both in South America. Yeah. What has slavery done to you? Okay, even if we get the benefits of it, it's not worth it still. It's not worth it too. We're still facing the ramifications of it because there's still barely any like talk about reparations, as it were. At most, the Juneteenth became a holiday.
Well, and what if everything had been so different from the start? What if people who arrived were actually explorers? What if the first people who arrived from Europe were parts of people who just wanted to share, who were looking to trade, who weren't looking to exploit, but to help us learn? Like, what if they like pretty much everything was fucking different, and instead of genocide, you had cooperation?
Yeah.
You know, like how much further could we all have been? You know, and collectively further, and not have this nasty bloody history that we're going to have to teach. We have to teach because we need for kids to understand why things are the way they are right now, so we can further change them so we have a better future for everybody. Like, we've got to teach them the truth.
What? Better future. The world's gonna end. Jesus is coming back any day now.
Is that why they deny climate change and think it's the old part of God's plan?
Yep.
And why do I answer my own question? I had a conversation with a conservative Mormon about this, and he did yet believe this and this. And also, he did confirm that the temple garments, that they do actually wear the temple garments as it were, and they see it as a way to get more spiritual as it were as they're praying.
Oh, you mean the magic underwear?
Yeah.
The magic underwear, yes, they did. They have magic underwear, yes.
That's why they always have to wear long sleeves and long pants.
When I was in college, I was convinced I had magic underwear. They were my lucky boxers.
Yeah.
Did they get you laid, or did they help your sports team win?
No, they helped me pass tests that I didn't study for.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, those are lucky boxers. Yeah, exactly. What else is there? And what else has happened this week at this war?
Richard Dawkins was a dumb shit, but that's nothing new.
Again?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, so what did he say this time?
He retweeted an article saying, "Stop telling people they don't understand critical race theory." To which I replied,
"It's
maybe,
true."
Yeah. If you don't want us to say that, maybe you should understand critical race theory.
Exactly. Learn your fucking critical race theory then, dumbass. Fucking old white dudes, I swear.
That's a good point, Mr. Frankie Boyle did a great joke about that. Like, he and his sons were walking around London, and he said, most of these statues were murderous bastards.
Oh, this week, Mythicist Milwaukee, I think, had a conference.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Yeah.
They had one last year, 2020, and the only thing I remember of the headlines, it's the same usual far right dipshits as it were, but they did.
They have they've been doing their Better Discourse weekend. Let's see who was on this panel. Do I recognize any of this? Chandler Crump, Peter Coffin, Kerry Smith, Lauren Chin, James Lindsay, Sarah Gonzalez, Justin Gibson, Ariel Scarcella, Melissa Chin, Libby Simmons, Mia. The names are all written sideways. Mia Cathell? I can't read, it's too small. Sean Fitzgerald, that sounds familiar.
That does sound familiar, but not
Stephen
familiar.
Bonnell, Nico House, Elijah Schaefer. They've gone out of their way to have black people at this thing. Jack Prosibiak, Lisa Reynolds, Sydney Watson. Yeah, whole bunch of assholes.
And yet they did not get on Aeon on Hersey Ali. I imagine they would have gotten Aeon on Hersey Ali if they could, or if they could, I guess. Maybe Aeon Hersey Ali thinks like that she's cheap. Correct me. It's too big for this sort of thing. And hey, David, yes, we see you are late as word. Richard Dawkins is like that's right. I remember I saw that quote about the advent calendar kind of like thing. It's just like, and I don't care about the advent calendar really. It's just like, it's whatever. But yeah, the mysticism in Milwaukee, last year they said like they coined it the better discourse, as it were. And what the highlight that I remember, and I didn't say much, but honestly because I don't care, is like it was like a debate between Destiny and Milo Yiannopoulos. Okay, two dipshits I don't give a fuck about, and I'd rather they not be given a platform at all.
But Destiny brings people over to the left. He's like a beacon of communism.
Again, just like with like other leftists that are in the same vein as Destiny, as it were, I was like, I do not want that. If they're being brought up to the left by them, I'd be really concerned, as it were. If people say that I've been brought up by the left by say like even someone like Jesse Zender or like a Thought Slime or like Sean and Saint Andrewism or like Robert Evans and stuff like that. Okay. If once someone says something that was like, oh wait, what? Are you serious about that? It's like people. We should still like not necessarily have them at arm's length at always as it were, but like keep them honest as it were. They always keep them honest as it were. But like if they're coming from like those kind of people or from social justice alchemy, okay, cool. They're intersectional, if they're like anti-racism, if they're like say talk about land back and that sort of thing, or seem cool on those fronts, or pro LGBT plus, cool. When they're fans of Destiny, Vosh, or Pick Puncher, or Peter Coffin, or no, I'm really concerned about you, or Callum Mockwood, or whoever that guy is where that Nazbol, that's like an intellectual, as were. Then I'll be really worried about all of you, as were.
Mm-hmm.
Please summarize.
Is it every time I hear the word intellectual, I always want to put air quotes around it? Like every time I hear the word, I want to put air quotes around it.
Yes,
David Skog is an intellectual.
You didn't miss much, honestly, David Skog. Nothing.
We talked about prison reform. We mocked
Yes.
some liberals.
That's fair. I think Jesse Gender's a bit too much of a ContraPoints fan, unfortunately. But like I have seen Jesse Gender actually do listen to the good faith criticisms that someone like me or others would have about ContraPoints as worse. She will at least listen to criticisms.
I really like Jesse Gender.
Yeah, of the people. So she doesn't come off as like it's just like a stand-up, which is like immediately defend Jesse Gender. No, immediately defend ContraPoints as it were, and ContraPoints does nothing wrong. No. Apart from that, we're just randomly talking about like a bunch of other stuff.
That's what we always do.
Yeah, I will be like logging off in about like 13 minutes or so because like the call I received is from my ride, as it were, and so he's basically ready to go, as it were, and he's just like waiting on me to like go and.
It's only 1 o'clock. You have like 4 more panels to get to, right?
No. I mean, I could talk about. I could try to like mention some of the interesting panels I went to, or like last night, I went to a panel about like writing smut and how advice on how to write good smut, as it were, and this is where it's like funny enough that she also brought up anatomy and how it's important to learn anatomy. which is, goes into, you should really have like someone, not just your best friend who will read your stuff and will like but someone. Okay, this is how the panelists like refer to the person: a beta, someone who's your acquaintance, be willing to read your smut disorder, but someone to count the number of dicks that's in the story. Because if your reader somehow realizes, wait a minute, how many dicks are there? Are there 5 dicks? Then you got to be clear about those sort of things, because unless it's a sci-fi story, unless you actually establish that's a word that like, no, this person has more than 1 dick, as it were, you got to keep count of how many dicks are in this scene, or else, because once your reader kind of realizes, wait a minute, where's the extra dick came from? Then you're going to like lose your readers in the spot of the word.
And a couple of now if you look at the screen, you'll see something that I saw on Twitter today. Excerpts from a 1970 thriller that posted. My favorite line is quivering buttocks. How about you? The body was in good shape, I figured, eyeballing its lush curves, the heavy breasts that thrust up and outward and bounced when I moved, as though set on springs. I removed my quivering buttocks from his stare by sitting down on the edge of the bed. I shrugged, making my breasts do a little dance.
I mean, that also came up the year, like how advice on how to write good smut word choices, as it were. Because, like, if your characters are in the 1600s, it may be a little bit, it may be like take people out of the story if they say, like, I'm getting it on, or like, I want to get some, and they're bumping uglies, as it were. Unless they're somehow time traveling or something like that. Pounded
in the butt by the concept of time traveling.
Exactly. Other panels I've been to, Powerful Women in Japan, that was a pretty good one. Oh, the learning about the emojis and culture, as it were, because apparently emojis actually started in Japan, as it were. So that was a fun panel to learn like pop culture and the use of emojis, as it were. Because yes, in 2014 or 2015, the word of the year according to Oxford Dictionary was the laughing, crying face emoji, the laughing face with tears emoji, as it were.
Oh, another thing that happened this week. Chris Pratt.
Oh, that's right. That's also happened this week too. Yes.
What did he do?
Well,
he posted a thing on Instagram.
Yes, he did.
It's a picture of him and his wife, and she's looking up at him and smiling. They're sitting on a sofa in their gigantic fucking house. Guys, for real, look how she's looking at me. I mean, find you somebody that looks at you like that! Exclamation point, exclamation point. You know? Exclamation point, question mark. We met in church. She's given me an amazing life, a gorgeous, healthy daughter. She chews so loudly that sometimes I put in my earbuds to drown it out, but that's love. She helps me with everything. In return, periodically, I open a jar of pickles. That's the trade. Her heart is pure and it belongs to me. My greatest treasure right next to my Ken Griffey Jr. Upper Deck rookie card, which, if you know is saying a lot. It's her birthday in about 6 weeks, so if I don't get her anything, I'll tell her to look back on this post. Love you, honey.
So he's doing that preemptively.
Shallow, misogynistic bullshit right there.
Yes.
And so a lot of people looked at that and said, wow, that is cringy as fuck.
Yes.
But
That's
then there's the extra
ableist,
point.
It's like...
the point that they actually highlighted in the version of the post I found. A gorgeous, healthy daughter. He was previously married to Anna Faris, and they have a disabled son together.
Oh, that's messed up.
Rat. Oh, well,
that's messed up.
From Chris P. Rat too, dudes, like, because actually James J kind of pointed this out to me and did my little research, or the best I can do is like, for sure, Chris P. Rat has a brother in the Washington State area, actually, like Lakewood, that it is the Chris P. Rat's brother is a police officer. And on an old Instagram post, he had a bulletin, as it were, and in the upper right-hand corner of that like board that he made as a collage was the 3 percenters symbol. And I think Chris P. Rat's brother was at January 6th as well. So for sure, Chris P. Pratt, along with like everything else as it were, is like what we already know. He was a fundamental Christian anyway. He funded like churches that like don't actually LGBTQI plus stuff vehemently, as were. It's not just like, oh, we not in favor of gays. Like, no, they hate gays. And then but he's a sex pest too. Like he was like the actress that he was working with was like his character was supposed to be naked too, but Chris Peagrap was not supposed to be naked. He decided to be like naked as a prank, as it were. And yeah, this is true. And also, he's not a good actor. Oh well, okay, I liked him as like a Star Lord in like a Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's just like his acting ability is like debatable, as it were.
Have you ever like not liked somebody and not been able to put your finger on it, and like you can't figure out what it is you don't like about them? They haven't said anything, they haven't done anything. Like there's just something about them from the start. Like I've always felt that way about Chris Pratt. I've always felt that way since the moment I saw him on the screen. I was like, something just doesn't strike me as right about that guy. Like I've never really liked him, didn't understand his popularity. And so like now that all this stuff, I feel almost vindicated, even though I shouldn't, because I had no reason to dislike the guy from the start. Like there was no reason.
Yeah, and also
I just randomly didn't.
I'll give credit to Jordan Trumpy because she, came up with the term Chris P. Rat, which the good point, Limpy. That may be an insult too insulting P, especially for P equivocated to like Chris P. Rat, and also rats too. They're actually lovely animals. They're just misunderstood, as it were, or they should
just
not
trying
be
to feed their 4 Teenage Ninja Turtle sons.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay.
They're actually really smart little critters.
Yeah, they are actually. They're
and highly
really
social.
Smart. And they can also like their bones also can like be flattened to a certain point, so that allows them to get underneath like doors in certain ways, unless you got like the hinge up there, so that like the doors are completely flush, is where they close up.
I read somewhere that supposedly the females can mate with as many as 5 different males and compare and contrast their sperm and choose which one they want to be inseminated with. So they can carry all of these different samples and then decide which one they're actually going to carry the babies of.
Okay, I just saw a headline. It's from this Friday. Netflix Devil May Cry producer assures world Chris Pratt isn't Dante.
That's right, because I think that's what happened before it became a meme. Is that Chris Pratt was like, I believe, was actually signed on to voice Garfield.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, okay, Bill Murray's still alive. Okay, Bill Murray's not a great person either, because like he asked his ex-wife, but still, Bill Murray would still do Garfield, but like Chris Pratt got like hooked up to do Garfield. Why? So then it became a meme. I'm sorry, everyone. Chris Pratt is going to do whitewashing again, as he's going to be Makoto Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell.
Series producer Adi Shankar vows that his demons won't share a voice with Mario and Garfield.
That's right. He got hooked up to be Mario too, so that's what started the meme as well. Cat, I see the cat back there. Because like with Chris Pratt as like a Mario, it's just like, and then Garfield, it's just like, oh god, Chris Pratt is going to be voicing all the main characters too. To which Nick Anderson even said, "I'm sorry, Internet, he has done it. Chris Pratt is going to voice Minnow from like Planet Purple." The Nick Anderson's like comic.
When they finally do bring her into the DC extended universe, they should play Supergirl.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. Chris Pratt playing Supergirl. Yes.
Actually, no. He should play Power Girl. See,
that's right, because there is a difference. Yeah, there's like that time that like a DC like kill off a lot of their heroines, and the only ones they kept around were the big-breasted ones, because of course. I forget what crisis it was. Well, one of the Infinite Crisis, as it were. Mm-hmm. Plot twist is not the cat; it's the president. I don't know. I think I'll take my chances with Joe Biden over Chris Pratt as president, honestly.
Yeah, because Chris Pratt is a fundamentalist homophobe. Joe Biden is just a conservative Democrat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I like crispy rat.
Crispy rat, yeah. Makes sense.
So from now on, we should just draw him as a fried rat on a kebab.
It's actually restaurants in China that do serve rats, and honestly,
Not surprising.
I would not be supposed to eat rats, as it were, if they're plentiful and properly cleaned and cut up and all the thing, and we're not
Sustainably farmed.
And sustainably farmed. That's a good point.
I want to start a rat ranch.
Well, they have a I was reading someplace they have a what do you call it, a cockroach ranch. Because they actually do use cockroaches for different, like apparently different industrial reasons. Like there's things that you can actually use cockroaches for, and so they have to be able to like raise them.
So people Google what the cockroaches are used for and go down that's like a intellectual or research rabbit hole. Because like there's also cricket farms too as well, and that makes a lot of sense. Like crickets, there's millions of reasons to use crickets for. Crickets' heads themselves are like used for feed in some cases as well. So and also the industrialized fishing or like events like fishing, there's use for crickets for baits, and crickets of course like food for like others kind of like pets as well. And I actually
crickets are good for bearded dragons, I've heard.
Yeah, you can actually eat.
You can make cricket flour.
Oh, that's right. That's a good point too, as well. Exactly. I actually had crickets before. I wish there was actually like cooking like a sauce of some kind, because it was just baked crickets. As it were. They were crunchy. It was like, okay, meat on its own you can cook it, yes, but you really got to flavor meat in order to like get any taste out of like any kind of meat as well. Because meat on its own that doesn't have really any flavor.
It tastes like suffering. I love it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But anyway, we're at the top of the hour, so any other final points? Because like, I guess I can leave the call, and then you two can like continue talking if you want to.
I don't really have anything more to talk about. I mostly wanted to complain about Thomas being a liberal.
Because
on various of his shows, he has been doing a lot of whining about people saying that the Democrats and the Republicans are the same. And I'm pretty sure he included me as one of those, because I gave him a short rant a little while back, right before I unsubbed from all this stuff. But no, I'm not saying. I definitely wouldn't say the Democrats and the Republicans are the same. The Republicans are actively evil. The Democrats are ineffectual cowards.
And even on a lot of the like policies that like largely Republicans and Democrats are similar on, basically like foreign policy and immigration. Republicans
military
do
spending.
worse. Military spending. Okay, that's one thing that they always agree on. That's always bipartisanship. Mm-hmm. The military spending bills are always must-pass bills, while like the Build Back Better Act is like, oh no, this is a $3.25 billion like a bill. They never mention what's actually inside the bill. The media never does. It's just always like, look at the big price base of this bill, as it were. And that bill is never mentioned as a must-pass bill. So it's always like, but the military spending bill is always the bipartisan must-pass bill. That's where
one of the things. It's a historically large package, the Build Back Better Act. It's the biggest we've ever passed. Okay, first off, does that take into account inflation? That's something I'm curious about. But that's great. We still need to do a hell of a lot better. We need to cut military spending by about 99.9 repeating percent.
And there you go. You pay for the Build Back Better Act. And honestly, when you think about it,
take all the money we're spending on the military, use it to fund childcare. The fuck? You guys wouldn't have been able to hear that. The audience did. And that made a noise in the background. Childcare, hospitals, infrastructure, free healthcare, free housing, free food, free clothes for everyone. We could do a whole lot with the stuff we're using to instead kill brown people.
Mm-hmm.
At home and abroad.
Yeah.
There's always more to rant about. But you have to go, Geek, I'm pretty sure.
I think so. Well, basically, my friend is like waiting, as it were. So, like, I'll go ahead and plug for Joey Flyer Lame Deer or Joey Lame Deer. They have Patreon. Find Joey Lame Deer like on Patreon and like give them some money.
Yes, Jordan, it would be that was a lightsaber. That's one of the apps. It's not even on. It just sort of randomly does that sometimes.
When you have a lightsaber app? Oh, of course.
No, it's an app. It's a Star Wars thing that a game I play that sometimes makes noise when I don't want it to.
You got a notification, I guess.
Pretty much. Except it's not even a notification of anything. It just on the top of the hour sometimes it says, "Hey, I'm here."
Okay, hey, you there? But just like, I'm not playing Star Wars right now. Shut up. Okay, yes, Bonrat, killing people is fun, but we shouldn't do that in the real world. Let's do that in video games.
Unless they're fascists.
Yes.
Every once in a while, I'm tempted to buy a drone and put a gun on it and hunt Nazis in the streets. I think that would be a fun game. I could make that. It would no.
No, I just remembered Christopher Canwell is on trial too. Oh my God!
Right. Isn't he defending himself?
Yes, he is. I think so. Or like if he got to defending himself, he got a terrible lawyer. There's so much to like cover in that. I gotta have like prepare for that next week because no, it's like
yes, he is defending himself.
He has a fool for his like anyone who defends himself is a fool for a client.
And he's using his cross-examinations to air conspiracy theories.
Yes. Yes, that is absolutely true. And also in good news, Richard Spencer said that his life has been pretty much like ruined since like he pretty much needed to write as it were, but like he's like he lost his job, he's like his wife and girlfriend left him as it were, and like he hasn't been getting any gigs. I'm like a year ago, 2 years ago, his credit card like was denied for
don't need no credit card to ride the fast train. Sorry.
But the bar in like Montana said, "Get out of here, you fascist fuck."
Midway through neo-Nazi Christopher Cantwell's contentious appearance in court on Monday, a lawyer interrupted with an objection. "I understand he is pro se," attorney Alex Conlon said, referring to the fact that Cantwell is representing himself, "but this is not a podcast."
This is a podcast, however. Well, we do not talk about like what Christopher Cantwell likes to talk about.
And these are civil suits, not criminal suits. But some of those defendants, including Cantwell, are representing themselves in court after being dropped by their attorneys.
I remember they had one that like the bottom of the barrel lawyer they could get to defend him, but was a guy who was cosplaying like a someone from the 1700s, like a colonialist at that time. That's the lawyer he had at the time.
That means that Cantwell, who earned himself the nickname the Crying Nazi after video emerged of him blubbering ahead of his arrest, and co-defendant Richard Spencer have been able to speak at length during the trial, leading to chaotic outbursts. Richard Spencer is also there. Good. I hope he loses everything. He's a piece of shit.
It's Richard Spencer who said like, "Oh no, we never really actually care about like free speech and stuff like that. That was just a way to like get our ideas out there." Yeah, that was the whole point. But also Richard Spencer who says that like Antifa wins because yes, people listen. Deplatforming works.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, and so yeah, Joey Fire Lame Deer on Patreon. Chuck them a couple of bucks a month, as it were.
And check out charitylinks.page.
Charitylinks.page.
Is charitylinks all one word, or is it have a hyphen?
Charity Links is all one word and then dot and then page. And that's the easy way to find it. Of course, Summer and Geek on Twitter, Summer and Geek on YouTube. Eventually, I'll put up more videos on YouTube and Summer and Geek on Twitch. I don't know when I'm going to be like streaming next. I don't know. Maybe I can like stream tonight if I get home like early enough and after dinner and stuff. But yeah, that's the show, everyone. Thank you for coming in. But very important. Also, don't forget to check out our Patreon because next week will be the second Sunday of the month.
Yes.
And it'll be the Patreon show. So then, if you are a patron of us, even for just $1, you will get the link to join into the Zoom call, and you will get to hang out with all of us as well.
And And hopefully I'll remember to, put the link up before, like 2:05 p.m.
I can remind you if you want. If I remember to do so too.
And I think maybe tonight or tomorrow night I'll go ahead and do the rant I've been thinking about Star Wars. Because people are stupid and think that gray Jedi are a thing. That's not what balance meant.
I mean,
I have a whole. I can talk all about Orientalism, and that's what I'm going to do. All right.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
that's all right.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to talk a lot about it. I'm just going to mention it as part of the lead-in. Anyway,
yeah, exactly.
I do another podcast, Dungeons and
right.
Debacles. It's a D&D game, a heck of a lot of fun. We did a Halloween themed thing last week. It was a murder mystery kind of thing. We were playing different characters. It was a one-off. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. The thing is, a very elderly and forgetful magician. He was also something of an alcoholic.
It sounds Irish, if I'm the sounds of it too.
I sort of ramble around the British Isles with the accent, but yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Too bad Mithral already left.
That's why we can prove us wrong.
All right. And with that, I guess we will go ahead and stop the stream. Bye-bye, everybody. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Medicate.
Take care.
Hydrate.
Yeah.